Hey dudes, what's up? It's Lerald. The next PoE 1 League unveiling is just a few days away, which means we're right in the middle of teaser season. GGG Stealth dropped a couple of reveals that are going to change PoE 1's economy and in-game Atlas setups for both the coming patch and the rest of human history until the sun burns out. So let's get into it, but first, subscribe to the channel already. We've been streaming here on Twitch at Lerald Live a lot recently, so check that out too. Join our Discord as well. We've got a really awesome community, and you should be part of it. Okay, so let's just go ahead and start with the first teaser trailer, right? Like, here it is. Nice and loud. There's really not much going on here. You should watch it on your own. It'll take you 20 seconds. Really all we get to see is just this, like, very cool looking, I don't know, beach ball with tentacles, and then there's, like, a spiky guy, or, an evil scorpion inside, and some purple light, right? So, obviously this is Breach. This is, like, the setup to Breach. Even though, what is she saying? The Hive, whatever, they're here. That doesn't sound like Breach at all, really. Like, what she has said doesn't really sound very, like, Breachy. And the look of this orb... Presumably, we, like, kill stuff around it, and then the guy inside it builds up power and then jumps out and tries to eat our face off. That would be, like, how I would just read this if I didn't know Breach was coming. But, you know, did she finishes her sentence? We get a little jump scare right here with the hand. And then Purple Flame and a bunch of hands that look very much like the artwork from PoE 2's version of Breach. So, this is clearly Breach-related, clearly. I think the name of the league is going to be Keepers of the Flame. Very cool, ominous music, all of that stuff. So clearly this looks like a reimagined version of Breach. We've got a lot of reason to think it is going to be some sort of Breach 2.0, even though, again, the visuals here don't really scream Breach to me. Everything else does. This is definitely going to bridge the story gap between PoE 1 and PoE 2's Breach. End games, you know, we don't exactly know what the transition is going to be. Then after that, we've gotten 3 little trailers here, kind of teasing quality of life improvements that GGG have planned. So the first one is an improvement to Heist. They are making it so that you won't have to level up your rogues when you do Heist. That's just going to be like, they're all going to be max level for their different skills, which means it's going to be a lot easier for people to do Heist. There's really not anything else that much going on in this video clip, except for this. The icon for skill here, or like leveling up the skill, has like a lock on it. A lot of people have theorized that maybe this pertains to like new automated gem leveling where you don't have to click every single time. Boy, wouldn't that be nice? You know, we'll see. I don't think there's anything else. I don't think it's going to be like a wholesale change to the gem system. But ultimately, yeah, the rogues are still basically going to work the same way they always have. They're just going to work as though they have all got their max level skills from the very start. And probably you still have to unlock them, but that means you have to run like 6 or so heists instead of, you know, like dozens in order to get your rogues maxed out. This is going to make it so that there's like a great incentive to run Heist in your Atlas passive tree, even if you don't care to do Heist, because people will want to buy your contracts because they can run Heist very easily. Contracts and blueprints are going to be passive income. Then we got our second teaser, and this one is kind of the big money maker, the rainmaker here. This started off with, you know, the point of this is just very simply that, like, you could fully refund the passive tree, or both the Atlas passive tree or your character's passive tree, and they showed the price of this off. Also, there was this little point here, take void stones. This is actually just something, I think some people got a little baited by this. But this is actually just part of a quest, like an epilogue quest. If you log into a character you haven't logged in a while, like, I think I had this pop up for me where I hadn't logged into Standard in like a couple of years, and I logged into Standard, and all my Void Stones were gone. All my Void Stones gone. So I had to talk to Kurak and get them back, and that seems to be all that is. I don't think there's anything else going on. But you can very quickly respec your Atlas just by spending gold, and we can see the gold cost looks to be about like 2,000 gold per point. So that's actually pretty decent. It definitely means that it's going to keep the cost of Orbs of Unmaking nice and low. I usually have like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of points worth of Orbs of Unmaking once we're deep into the league. I know people saw this 142 refund points left. I don't think that means anything. I zoomed in on this number way down here. Obviously, you know, you can't read it. I can't even read it in this size, but I zoomed in on it. It seems like it's still 132. So I don't think that's changed. I think that's all the same. However, I did zoom in on some other things in the tree here. So previously there was a beyond wheel here, and here, and here, and then up off the screen. And now there's no breach wheel here. There's now a beyond wheel here. There is beyond is right here on this left side of blocker nodes by the look of it. It's down here, and then Abyss. What is this? Abyss, Deli, Harvest, and Legion have all shifted up one. Breach seems to be gone from the tree entirely. All the spots where Breach previously was, Beyond has jumped into its place. You know, you have up here, you have this Beyond wheel over on the right side, which, like, previously it looks like it's this wheel, has now moved down over here. There's just a lot of stuff that is clearly, like, everything where Breach was in the tree has been removed and replaced with Beyond, and at least right now it seems like all the spots where Beyond was, they're just gone. There's just nothing there, which is not the end of the world. I think it winds up being somewhat more symmetrical in some spots, like here, but then it's a little asymmetrical, like in these spots over here. This has a couple of impacts. One, it's going to kill overlaps with Alva and Beyond, so that strategy's gone, but it's going to give excellent synergy with Beyond and Legion, or Beyond and Abyss, so I think that might be back on the menu. It also confirms, I think, that the new league is definitely some sort of reimagined Breach mechanic, even if it doesn't work exactly like Breach. It also ties into PoE 2, since Beyond is a well-established mechanic in that game with the corruption and purification systems applying to clusters of maps around the Atlas, and there's a very real possibility that Beyond, because it's now going to be one of these blockable nodes, Beyond might just have like an 8% chance of spawning in your maps in the same way that like Breach used to, or Harvest does, or anything like that. I think that's very much on the table for the coming league. Then they showed us the respec cost with, like, you know, respecing your character with gold. Who cares about that? You know, that's, like, very expensive. It costs, like, 500,000 gold or something. You know, it might as well cost, like, infinity gold compared to using regret orbs. But more importantly, when they opened up the Faustus window here, we had this line managed shop. So this is the exact terminology that's used by Ange for asynchronous trading in PoE 2. They already had us trading our trade tabs from PoE 1 to be able to buy the asynchronous shop trading tabs in PoE 2. I logged into PoE 1 and found that I had a bunch of remove only tabs because of that, so I felt like 100% certain this was happening, but now I feel 100.0% certain that this is happening. Absolutely bet on it. Asynchronous trading is happening. This is their coy little way of confirming that it is. This is a huge improvement to the game as well. It has massive ramifications that we're going to spend most of the rest of the video talking about. The most basic change here is just simply that it makes gear trading easier. That raises the floor on getting better gear. I feel like, just thinking personally, I probably made more currency from trading in the last PoE 2 league than I did in both of the two before it. Combined, the average player's gear is just going to be noticeably better from this, and also people are going to have an easier time selling the things that they pick up that are somewhat decent. It also means that rare ground loot is less valuable because of the floor being raised. This is something GGG has had, like, problems with throughout the years, but I don't really think it's that big of a problem. The biggest upside here, though, is just that it makes so many of the mechanics that are fun and easy to farm but difficult to trade much better. And so I kind of want to run through a bunch of those, but first, right before I started recording this video, GGG dropped this quality of life improvement, which is just a very basic thing for stacked decks. Now you're able to hold control and right click and they will just jump into your inventory. As you can see here, it'll even say them in the chat, or if you hold shift and control and right click, it'll throw them out on the ground, and then you can get, you know, the little dings. And so now you don't have to do the, like, horrible wrist strain of clicking and dropping every single stacked deck. Hooray! But also, there's another weird little thing in here where this is clearly like some sort of two-handed slam build. You can tell from all the skills, except what the hell is this purple thing in the bottom, like the middle mouse button here? And the answer is, I don't know. It looks like a purple finger in the middle of a cloud of purple gas. Don't know what that means, don't know what that is, but it is interesting. It's also interesting that there's a red blade banner with no weapon in the offhand. Don't know what to make of that, probably nothing, but again, interesting. Alright, and so with those teasers now covered, now I kind of want to talk a little bit about the things that I think are going to be getting like a nice little bump out of the changes, the addition of asynchronous trade, and also the changes to heist. And then the things that I think will maybe be taking like a bit of an L. Also the changes to the Atlas passive tree with Breach, or with Breach being gone and Beyond being on the right-hand side of the tree. So the first thing I would mark as like a winner here is heist on the Atlas passive tree. So like farming contracts while running maps, even if you don't want to run heist, I think just doing that becomes like a huge, like, we give that a +1. That I think is like so much better, because that was always a great way to make like a lot of easy money, except you actually had to find somebody to buy them from you in bulk, and that was like a real pain. So now you don't have to find anybody. You just buy them, throw them into your asynchronous trade tab, and they will sell. Running heist is also much better. Running heist gets a +1 because not only is it getting a bump from not having to like level up your rogues, right? It's also getting the bump of not having to zone out mid-heist or chase people back and forth between the rogue harbor and your hideout to make trades. Also, Trarthan gems are being added into heist, so that's another source of potential jackpots there. Even as more people are running heist, you're going to be able to make currency off of like farming the items that you could sell to other people who are going to use on their rogues, or just simply from like farming Trarthan gems. So I think even though more people are going to be doing heist, I still think that it's going to be very profitable. Bestiary also gets a +1 here, and that's because the issue with both buying and selling beasts is that it's all done in bulk. Trading beasts has always been a pain in the ass that is not like, it's not worth stopping what you're doing to sell less than 20 beasts at a time. And the problem with that is most people want 1 or 2 beasts. So there's just a huge disconnect between what you're wanting to sell versus what you're like somebody's wanting to buy. This solves that problem completely. This might be the first time we ever recommend a non-gimmicky beast farm strategy at League Start as well. Expedition logbook farming. So expedition logbook farming, as in trying to find them within maps and sell them to other people to run the logbooks themselves, becomes a lot stronger now for the same reason as heist. It's going to be way easier to unload these. Hugin and Danik are both still going to be good. They just print currency. ROG is probably going to take a hit, so we're going to go -1 ROG, unfortunately, because the quality of gear on average is going to be better. If you're somebody who really likes crafting with ROG, that could maybe actually be a +1 just because it's easier to get people to buy the gear, but the price of it is definitely going to go down. So you might have an easier time getting, kind of a whatever, bird in the hand worth more than 2 in the bush kind of situation, where you'll probably have an easier time getting a smaller amount of currency, but the jackpots won't be there with ROG. Harvest is probably also going to take a very small -1 at the start of the league here. I think the issue here with Harvest is that it's just not going to be as valuable when it comes to rolling like very cheap basic gear. It's still going to be insanely good once the league really gets rolling, so eventually Harvest is still going to be insane down the line. Delirium loses out on easy beyond strat, or beyond synergy rather, so I think that takes a small hit as well. Abyss and Legion both gain beyond synergy, so Abyss gains I think a +1, and Legion gains a +1 as well. Leg on gains a +1 because they're now very easy to line up with Beyond. Abyss still has farming for Stygian bases early on in the league. That's probably going to fall off faster than usual. It already falls off pretty fast, but it'll be easier to actually sell them, so maybe it's good. I feel like Leg On is the same as it always is. The emblems from Legion are like pretty low value, so it just is kind of a rare generator, and it'll synergize nicely with Beyond, which is great. Blight is another big winner for the same reason that Heist and Expedition logbook sales are. Blight has always been fun to run. It's fun to farm up a bunch of Blighted maps. It is really painful to sell Blighted and Blight Ravage maps, and now it's not going to be painful. You just throw them into an asynchronous trade tab. They will sell. They'll probably go down in price, but again, I would rather have an easy, I would rather go to sleep and log back in and have like a bunch of divines waiting in a tab for me than sit and be trying to spam people in trade chat or in TFT hoping that they bite them all. Another mechanic that I really love that I think is getting a +1 here is Maven Witness map farming, specifically trying to bulk farm Shaper, Elder, Conqueror maps. That's just a farm strategy that I really love, and I feel like that gets the same buff here, right? Like, the value of them will probably go down, but the ease of selling them is going to go up so much that if you don't have an insane amount of hustle behind you, you're going to wind up making a lot more currency, and I definitely am not a hustler, so, I feel good about that. And then I think Labyrinth is probably the one thing that I would say is getting like a +2 here. It is so much better after this set of changes than anything else. It is the mechanic getting the biggest buff by a wide margin, and that's because Actually selling items while running Labyrinth is basically impossible. You spend so much of the time that you're trying to do lab in the lab, unable to zone out and make trades. So with that friction being completely removed, the profitability and quality of life from running lab to farm transfigured gems takes a massive leap up in value. It takes a special kind of crazy to be willing to run lab all day at the start of a league, obviously, but there is a huge profit in doing that, and now the only annoying part of that process is dodging all the traps. This is a big quality of life increase for lab. It's kind of a game changer, actually. Alright, so there are a couple of uncertainties as well. I think in terms of league mechanics, I think that pretty much covers everything that I think is going to be, significantly impacted by this set of changes. I could be missing something, but I think that's it. In terms of the uncertainties, I think that there are a couple of questions I have here. For one, is this the league mechanic, or is there something else like there was with Merc League being layered in with Secrets of the Atlas, and this is a thing that's changing on top of another league mechanic? I don't think so. I don't think we're getting 2 or 3 for the price of 1, but, maybe. What's going on with Secrets of the Atlas, that whole storyline? Are we going to get Uber versions of those bosses? Are we still going to have to farm the boss keys in the same way? Is the Secrets of the Atlas system changing in some meaningful way on top of this set of changes happening with this breach being gone and replaced with something else? Is anything going to fill in the spots on the passive tree left behind by Beyond? That's definitely a big question for us. And I think then finally the question that we really have is just patch 3.28 and beyond. Do they continue doing this same set of changes with other league mechanics in the future? Kind of feel like, yeah, Abyss would be, I think, next in patch 3.28, where they kind of take it from what it was in PoE 1 and turn it more into the PoE 2 version of it, which seems like a huge upgrade. But I guess we'll have to find out in another 4 months or so. Alright, those are all the changes we know so far. It's not a huge amount, but the little taste we have had has been delicious. We need more teasers, GGG, we're starving. It's still October, so it's spooky movie recommendation time once again. And this time we're going with probably my favorite, certainly one of my favorite movies of all time, The Shining. It's probably the most artfully made horror film ever, and it's great. Kubrick's a goat, right? So watch The Shining. I do it every couple of months, and Halloween is as good a time as any. Alright, that's it. Be sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, and join the Skipping Sleep Studio Discord and become part of our awesome community. Finally, thank you to all of our channel members. If you want to support us so we can keep making more PoE content, become a channel member or come boost our Discord. Thanks for watching. Bye.